very happy to connect with you today. We have a live session with artists and creatives, designers, illustrators all over the world, and today we have a very special guest, a very talented illustrator, Tracy English. She's an amazing illustrator. She works in a collage technique and with many popular big brands such as Calypso Cards, Bloomsbury Publishing. She is represented by amazing art agency Jahan. I think you may remember that we had an interview with their um, art agent from that agency. So today I'm really happy to talk with Tracy and to ask her about her experience of being an illustrator who is represented with such an amazing agency. Also, of course, we will talk about process of creating collages and about Tracy's artistic journey, and I would love to ask her about commissions and licensing and how to be authentic in how you represent your work online. And we will start in a few seconds. If you want to get all the highlights from this interview, you're welcome to subscribe to the newsletter, and then you will get everything. I see the request. I'm accepting it. It should work. Tracy, I hope you're connecting with your phone. You're doing. Yay!
Hey, hi. How are
Happy to
you?
see you. I'm
Good to
fine.
see you too.
It's happy to see you. Thank you for your time.
That's
Um,
okay. Pleasure. Pleasure. It's a very sunny day here, so I've had to shut my blinds, so there's a bit of a weird glare in my glasses, but we
ah,
have to go with that. It's
oh,
very sunny for a change.
yeah, it's
So yeah.
sunny here too.
Okay, yeah,
So
yeah.
let's get started.
Mhm.
Please, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your artistic background. How have you started? Do you have a formal education
Mhm.
or everything that
Okay.
you would like to share with
Yeah,
us?
I'm from, in fact, my mum and dad were both artists. My mum was a watercolor painter and a teacher, and my dad was also a artist. He started his life as a art director in advertising world, and then my parents got divorced and he became an illustrator. So, and he's still, I mean, my dad is 88 now and he's still creating today. He does woodcuts and all those sort of things. So I guess I grew up in a creative household, so I think my path was always kind of destined to be something creative because I didn't know anything different really. And I went off to art school at age 16, and I did a normal foundation course, and then I did a textile design course, as I absolutely love colour and pattern. So yeah, that was the start, and then from that I worked in a company that forecasted colours for home furnishings. So I was doing that, but alongside that I was also trying to do my own work already. And I started doing market stalls when I was about 21, selling bits and bobs that I'd made, and I painted on silk and things like that. And from there, actually, I started getting some illustration work. So it kind of was just a natural progression. And then my kids came along, and I really struggled to be a mum and to do my artwork. And I had some grandparents to look after as well. So it just all became too much. And so I decided to take a complete break from my creativity, which was really tough. But I didn't have any other solutions at the time. So I took a long break. And then as my kids started growing up, it was kind of the birth of online courses. So I decided to enroll in a few online classes. And I guess that's, yeah, where my new journey began. And I started, yeah, exploring different ways of working and different ideas. And yeah, one day I stumbled on collage and started creating some things in collage. And I think the first thing that I created, I managed to license, and it kind of sparked an idea. And yeah, and then I
Mhm.
guess the rest is kind of the journey is
Mhm.
history. So I think that was
Yeah.
about 2014, 2013, 2014. So it's been around 10 years, I guess, that I've been creating in collage now. So yeah. And yeah, that's kind of how
Yeah, that,
my journey has gone.
thank you for sharing. And that's so
That's okay.
interesting. That's so interesting that you had a break and then you decided to come back to creativity and started
Yeah.
developing the
Yeah.
collage technique. Can you tell us a little bit more about that period? Because I think that many of our listeners may be on the same stage when they already have some experience, but they feel like they would love to invest more time and energy into creativity,
Mhm.
but don't know where to start, what to do.
Yeah.
Uh, because of this stage, you may have a lot of fears and struggle
Yeah,
with,
it's hard. It is
yeah.
hard. And I do regret sometimes stopping, but I just felt like I didn't have a choice at the time. And I played around on my own for a lot actually first and wasn't really getting anywhere, felt a bit lost. And that's when I suddenly, I mean, I had been going to a local art college just to do some day classes and try to be creative again, but it just wasn't quite right for me, I guess. And I didn't completely stop being creative. I was still doing things, but I had lost my path or my direction completely. And I think somehow it's nice to be within a group of people who are also feeling the same situation so you can support each other. And it was kind of the start of Instagram was kind of really taking off. So there was nice groups on there that could support you. So I guess it's just good to have other people around you who are in a similar situation so you can bounce ideas off people. And it's not good to always work alone. I think that's the main thing. Yeah, the online community is pretty good now and it's still supportive, whatever people say about it. It can be difficult, but I think it's still a relatively supportive place if you find the right tribe of people um, to be with, and you know you can be open to people and approach people and they can approach you, then I think that really does help a lot.
Yeah, I agree with you so much. I think that finding the community on the
Hmm.
small group of people like-minded, it can really support you on this
Yeah,
path.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not easy when you work alone. It's really not easy. I mean, it's not easy being creative because you have a lot of demons in your head telling you you're not doing it right or you're not doing it, you should do it another way. So it's definitely good to bounce ideas off each other and see what other people are doing as well.
And then when you started to experiment with the collage
Hmm.
techniques, was it how much does it differ from what you are doing now? Could you walk us through your creative process, how
Um,
you create, how we work with
oh yeah,
collage?
yeah. I guess it has changed, but I think it's changed organically. When I first started, I was just using colored papers that I already bought from the shop, like colored tissue papers and things. I wasn't creating my own papers. So I think that's the biggest change is that I think maybe 2 years into collaging, I realized that you just can't get the colors and I wanted more textures and things like that. So I just started experimenting, I guess. Initially, I was just using tissue paper, which is pretty difficult to build up and I mean, it's quite fiddly. And so I think, yeah, it's been quite an organic process that I haven't necessarily noticed the change. I've just experimented along the way and then slowly things have changed. If I look back at what I was first creating, it looks completely different to me. And yeah, it's hard to look at it now, but yeah, you have to start somewhere. And I guess you grow all the time. Every time you do something, you change a little bit, maybe.
Um, how do you work with collages now? I suppose you have a lot of prepared colored, self-colored papers,
Hmm.
but let's imagine that you just moved to another
Hmm.
studio where there's nothing
Hmm.
prepared. Uh, I'm asking this just to give some tips and advice for
Hmm.
others who want to work with these
Yeah, yeah.
techniques. So, what are your steps?
I think, yeah, normally if I'm starting something new, I decide on what colors I'm going to use first, and then I get some plain pieces of paper out and I just play around with the color palette and make some textured papers and make some plain colored papers so that I've got kind of a combination of textures and relatively plain colors so that I can use that for the details. And then I also obviously have a stash of papers too. But yeah, normally I just start by creating some colors on paper. Sometimes I use cartridge paper, which is like a drawing paper, and maybe some tissue paper, just so that I can do some layering. So yeah, so basically I will start by just painting some papers, using some textures,
Mhm.
and yeah,
And
before I do anything else.
what art materials do you use? Does it matter for you if it's watercolors, acrylics, pencils, crayons?
Yeah, I usually use acrylics actually so that they don't smudge when I glue everything down. I sometimes do a little bit of texture with colored pencils as well, but mainly it's acrylics. Liquid acrylics are my favorite, but I do use just tubes of acrylic as well. But it's just I favor that because I normally paint over the paper and I don't want the colors to smudge. And if you use
Mhm.
watercolors, then it tends to run everywhere. So yeah.
And what materials, what kind of things do you prefer to use to make these textures? I
I have
saw.
lots of yeah, I have lots of let me I have lots of brushes kind of like this.
Yeah.
Lots of old scruffy. The scruffier the brush, the better, really. So yeah, kind of this. They're very dirty, they're very old, but you don't need nice posh brushes to collage. You probably know that anyway. So yeah, I just use old. I have a huge collection of old yeah, it's like an old yeah,
Oh.
old brushes. So yeah, so that's what I use. And I also use some like old credit cards to scrape the paint across, and some bubble wrap to do textures, and old toilet rolls, anything really that you can use to make marks, bits of stick, depending on how textured I want something to be, will depend on what I use. I have like a big box of mark making objects, and when the post comes I always have a look to see if there's a bit of corrugated card or something like that that you can use at a later date. So yeah.
And what is the next step when you have all these textured papers? You're happy with the
hmm
colors you put on them. What? How do you work with the composition? Do you make any sketches?
I normally do a quick sketch. Sometimes it's just a pin nail sketch, that's something little tiny, or sometimes I do the size that I'm going to work at and draw it out. It depends. And I do generally always do a little sketch so I know the layout before I start. So yeah, I'll do that just in pencil, black and white. I don't fill any colors in or anything. I literally just do a black and white sketch. Yeah.
And is there any difference when you work on the collage just for
hmm
self, for fun? I don't know, some
Yeah. Yeah.
imaginations,
hmm
spark of imagination, or when you illustrating the book, because
hmm
you're
Yeah.
you
Then
you
I have,
probably
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You have to be much more exact, and generally, often I have to, not always, but if it's for a commission, you have to show roughs first. So then I would submit pencil sketch roughs, but they're not so sketchy, obviously. And then I may have to use those to trace off the collage so that it's exactly like the rough. I may move things around a little bit, but generally, I would probably have to use a light box and trace the shapes and cut it out like that. So it's a little bit more complex, I guess, just so that you get everything in exactly the right place.
So,
Sometimes I would do a full picture, and sometimes I do like icons, and then put the icons together first, and then scan everything in and do the layout in Photoshop.
mhm. And how much work do you do in Photoshop? I mean that all
I
your illustrations are handmade, right?
Yeah,
Then you
everything's handmade. Then I scan it in, and I tend to clean it up in Photoshop. Depending on what it's for, will depend on how much I clean it up or move little bits around, or sometimes add the odd detail. It really just depends on the project. I try not to clean it up. I want it to look authentic still, so I don't want to make it completely polished. Otherwise, you may as well just do it on the computer. So I want it to still look like a collage, but I do definitely, sometimes there's a lot of gluey bits and things like that that you need to just clean up a little bit. So yeah, it depends on the project and what it's for.
let's shift then to the questions
hmm
about art agency.
hmm
When did you first connect with your art agency? Was it your first art agency, or uh,
No,
how?
I've had a few over the years. Can't remember how many, but a few, and most of them haven't been great. I guess bad, either just not the right connection, maybe, or the agencies are too big. So I think I've been with Jahan since 2019, I think.
That's a lot.
It wasn't quite at the beginning when she started, but yeah, I was near at the beginning, but I can't completely remember the date now. I'm sure she would remember it, but I can't completely remember the date. But I think it's around 2019, or it was definitely before COVID. So yeah.
Did you reach out to them, or did
Mm,
they find
yeah.
you?
No, I reached out to her actually. Yeah. I,
Uh,
I think we'd been chatting. I think we'd been, you know, how it is on Instagram. You comment on a few things, you maybe chat a little bit. And I kind of liked the ethos of her agency. It is interesting. She had some interesting artists, and I kind of had finished with. I'd been in with another agency that had not been great, and it had ended not brilliantly at all, and I was feeling quite frustrated. So, and I wasn't necessarily looking for anybody else. I kind of had stuff coming in through social media and other streams, so I had work coming in, but I kind of just felt like I wanted some extra support and I wanted to be part of something, not just like a lone warrior. So I just thought I'd reach out to her. I knew she was relatively new and see what she felt about my work. Yeah, so yeah, no, I think I emailed her with some images and yeah.
do you remember what kind of portfolio you sent? What was?
Um,
Mhm.
I think I sent a combination of some of the things I'd licensed and some things that I just worked on for myself. I think I sent a combination so that she could see that I knew the licensing industry. And yeah, I think I sent various things, some florals, probably some animal things. I think it's always good to send a combination of things you want to show that you can be versatile within your style. I think that's quite important.
And what next? What was your first month working in this new agency?
Yeah, oh gosh, I can't even remember what the first job was now that we did together. But yeah, I mean, I was really impressed because she's super supportive, super nice, and she encourages you to do your best work, I think. And she encourages you still to be yourself and be authentic to your work. She doesn't try to change your work. And I think that's quite important with an agent. Um, and if you can't, for some reason, you know, your other things are going on, then she gives you the chance to take a breather. You know, she's not pressurizing you to do 100 designs, you know, a year or anything like that, which is also great because I think some agencies probably are keen for you to churn things out. It depends on the agency a little bit, I guess.
Mhm.
But yeah, she's very super supportive.
As you have such a big experience working with different art
Hmm.
agencies,
Hmm.
could you please tell us a little bit more about some pros and cons? What should artists,
The warning
illustrators pay attention?
signs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me now, looking back, I think I just wouldn't want to be with an agency that has hundreds of artists on their books because you're just lost and you're competing against, you know, that many artists. And it's impossible because, you know, there's plenty of them in there who've got great work as well. And I just don't see, even if they have a few agents, you know, looking after you all, I just don't see how they can keep an eye on everyone or even get work for everyone. So that would be my first tip, really, is to look for agencies that aren't so huge. I mean, some licensing agencies are really big, but that's all they do. They just churn out greeting cards and other images for licensing. And I think you want to check that your work is a good fit, I guess, that you know, that you feel like you're not the same as all the other artists, that you have you know you have something new to bring to the agency, but that you kind of feel that your style fits in with what they are doing and the companies that they are approaching. Because if you have got your work is completely different, then I think it's, you know, they're not going to find any work for you. They're going to have the wrong clients and things like that.
Mhm. And in personal connection, when you communicate with the
Mhm.
agency, do you see the big difference?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think some agencies you hardly hear from them, and you know you send an email and you don't hear back for like a couple of weeks and things like that, and that's not what I want at all from an agency. I want to have some kind of personal connection, and also it's nice to have a connection with the other artists, and I think that's also quite important. I think before you decide you want to join an agency, it's good to email or to, you know, direct message some of the artists and ask them what kind of experience they've had with that agency. I think that's pretty important to get an inside background on how the other artists are feeling, and hopefully some of them will at least be honest with you. I think that's definitely important to have a chat, because you're never going to hear from the actual agent what it's like. You need to hear from the inside source. So I would always recommend you try to reach out to people. I mean, not everyone's going to reply and not everyone's going to want to tell you, but I'm sure there's enough, you know, maybe even if it's one or two people who say, yeah, hey, this is great. We have she's really good and looks after us all. No, this is awful. Don't join. It's just good to get some inside information, I think, if you can.
Uh,
Oh, yeah.
and how many books per year do you illustrate with
I don't,
your
I
center?
mean, I haven't done loads and loads of books. I've done, yeah, maybe, no, I wouldn't say that books was my main source of work. I have done a couple, no, I maybe done about four with Jahan or five of various different things, but I wouldn't say that it was my main
Uh,
source.
And what is your main?
Probably, and maybe the greeting cards and home products and things like that. And I just did a really nice licensing job for a clothing company in Australia. That was a really super nice. I think that's got to be one of my favorite things so far. So, but yeah, I've hoped that I'm relatively versatile and I can turn my hand to lots of whatever comes along. Really, I guess the thing with licensing is you just never know what's going to turn up, or with this kind of work in general, you just never know what's around the corner. And I'm always happy to be flexible and try my hand at different stuff. And I hope that my work can, be versatile enough to fit in with things like that.
Could you please tell us a little bit more about licensing your artwork, maybe on this example with the clothing
Hmm.
company from the very beginning? How did you find them?
Yeah,
How did you?
yeah, they were
Yeah.
super nice actually. They went through my portfolio and picked loads and loads of images, and so we dug them all out, and I think everything had to be at pretty high resolution so that they could play around with the scale and stuff. So I had to change a few of the resolutions. But they just took lots and lots of stuff, and then they kind of made a decision of what they wanted and narrowed it right down. And then from that, they literally played around with my images. I didn't even need to um, put them into repeat or anything. They wanted to do
Ah,
that themselves. So I guess they wanted more control, which was fine by me because I didn't need to do any new work. They took things that are already existing, which was really nice. And they played around with the colors a little bit. I mean, we obviously got to say, yes, we're happy with it, or no, we're not happy with it. But pretty much they did everything really. I mean, it was fun, really good fun. And yeah, the end result was really bright and really colourful for the Australian market. But yeah, it was just super cute to see all these kids um, in my design. So yeah, it was a really, really nice, yeah, that was a good high. It's a nice moment. And yeah, if they did things that I would never even have thought of doing, they put designs together that I wouldn't have put together, which is just nice to see how other people, see your work, I guess, and have like different ideas to you, which is quite nice.
you said that they picked up some of your
Hmm.
artworks from your portfolio.
Hmm.
How does it work? Do you have an online folder with all the files, or I don't
Um,
know,
yeah, Jahan.
website?
I mean, I don't have I mean, I Jahan has everything uploaded onto her sites, and she is the one who I didn't liaise with the clients. Jahan did all the liaising with them. So she sent me the codes that she needed of the designs after they'd been through her categories, and yeah, so she really has the portfolios online, and they look through that. So I don't have control of that.
And
I mean, I have control of what I send her, but yeah, she sends out the stuff to them.
so my next question, maybe
Mhm.
working with their agency, do you have any kind of commitment that you have to create 10 artworks, I don't know, a
Mhm.
month or something like that that can be licensed,
No,
or
um, no, it's pretty flexible. I mean, I'm sure some agencies maybe you do need to do that, but with Jahan, it's pretty flexible. You just when you've done some new things, you can send them over, and if she likes them and she's happy with them, then she'll pop them into the portfolio. So yeah, it's yeah, there's no pressure in how many
Mhm.
things because it's impossible. Sometimes you can create quite a few things, and other times you can't. So yes.
So just to clarify, you have kind of two direction of work. When you have a client from the
Hmm.
agency and you commission and you create an artwork
Hmm.
depending on their client,
Yep.
and then you work on this project. And another
Hmm.
type when you just draw something in your style that you're
Hmm.
really happy about,
Hmm.
and then you scan and send it to the
Hmm.
agency, and then they can
Yeah.
sell the
Hmm.
license on that, right?
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So there's two, I guess there are two different ways of working. Yeah. Sometimes you get a commission and they'll give you the brief and then you have to work up the roughs and do it to whatever they want.
Mhm.
And yeah, the other, I mean, generally licensing is picking things out of a folder that's already existing. And yeah, taking designs from that.
What do you love more and why?
Well, it's obviously quite nice when old designs get picked up because you don't have to do any extra work. And often with licensing, as you know, you can license one design for lots of different products through lots of different companies, depending on the contract. So obviously that is quite nice. And there's no pressure then when you have a brief, you've got to get it right. Then there's always going to be a bit more pressure, I guess, depending on the client. They have a vision of what they want, you have a vision of what you want it to turn out like. So I guess, and then there's a time scale, and that's always going to be a little bit more stressful, I think, than just producing designs that you want to produce for yourself that might get licensed and they might not. So yeah, I think yeah, it's hard. It is nice to be challenged as well because if you get a brief, you kind of sometimes you think, "Wow, I could never do that." But of course, you sit down and you plan it, and of course, you can do it. And I guess that's good to challenge yourself as well, to something that you wouldn't think of doing. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Actually, licensing artwork, especially when they just pick
Hmm.
up something that you have created before, it's really very pleasant feeling and
Yeah,
not
that's right.
stressful.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
both,
that's right.
but anyway, both
Hmm.
directions are really interesting.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
when you work on the project, it can be something very special.
yeah. That's right.
Also, you have a great blog on Instagram, really big one and popular. Can you
Mm.
tell us a little bit about that? When did you start it? Why did
Mm.
you decide to start sharing your work on
Mhm.
Instagram, and what helped you to grow it so big? Anything?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I started when I started trying to get back into work again, and I think initially it was just photographs of things that I liked, and there was no work involved. I just took photographs and posted them, and I guess it was in about 2014 as well. So when I scroll right back, it's all just photographs of, yeah, images or some inspiration or this and that. Then slowly I started doing some work, so I started adding bits of work that I've done and I think it's grown organically, I guess. And I've met a lot of people through it, which is really nice. So I have friends now who I've met through Instagram, creative friends, and sometimes we meet up in groups in London, which has also been nice. And it's just a good way to connect, I think, and it's a good way to get some feedback on your work. And so I think I initially probably did it so I could get feedback and see what people thought. And then I guess it grows from there. And then, I mean, it's a changed place now, I guess, Instagram. It's not quite like it used to be. And it's much harder now to get your stuff seen. It's much harder now to grow your audience. It's definitely changed a lot over the years. But I still enjoy it. I mean, I love to look at what everybody else has been doing and have a scroll through, and it is an inspiring place still to be, I think. So yeah, I think it has definitely grown slowly, organically. And yeah, I think my number of followers now has come a bit stagnant. But yeah, no, I still enjoy sharing. I used to share pretty much every day. I struggle to do that now. I don't have enough time or sometimes anything new to share. Um, but I like to share the process and I generally try to answer people's questions if they come back to me. Um, yeah, because it's nice to inspire people as well, I guess. And I know how much I struggled to get started again. So if I can help somebody else get started, then that's always a happy place for me. So yeah.
Do you have any routines connected with social media? Maybe something helps you to stay consistent on Instagram.
Yeah, I, I have to say I don't have an organized time when I post or anything. I try to post kind of by lunchtime. And I don't generally plan the day before. I generally plan on the day. I see what I'm doing so that it's kind of feels, I want it to make it feel as natural as possible, really. I don't want it to be feel like it's an organized process. So I try to see what I'm doing on that morning of the day that I'm going to post, and hope that I can post something that I've been working on that day, or post something that has just arrived in the in the mail if it's a new licensing project, or yeah, something that's on my desk at that moment. So I try to keep it as natural as possible, really.
So you don't have any schedule, kind of one post a week, or is it
No,
what?
I try to post on the weekdays. So I try to post every day in the week. I don't post as much at the weekend anymore. Try to take a breather because, as you know, it gets quite intense and it's just impossible to keep it up sometimes. But I do try to post in the week, and I try to post, yeah, by lunchtime. That's about as good as my schedule gets.
But that's
Um,
great. That works.
well, I'm not sure if it works or not, and then I try to answer any questions in the afternoon. So if anyone's got any questions, get me in the afternoon. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you scroll through in the evening just to see what people have been up to. It's yeah. My days often don't look the same every day, so yeah, so it is a little bit organic, I'd call it. So yeah,
Do you use only Instagram, or maybe groups on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, or
yeah.
maybe
I
use
don't.
any?
Yeah,
Sorry. Yeah.
no, go on. Yeah, I don't. I use Pinterest a lot, main lot for inspiration. Actually, I do post on Pinterest, but I use it a lot for inspiration. I tend not to use YouTube or TikTok because I don't make so many videos. I know I need to make more videos, but it is difficult. Making videos is difficult, especially when you're collaging. So short little videos I make, but yeah, I get a bit lazy with the videos.
Yeah, but what?
But I
The
know
videos,
that's good.
they're really great when you take these top view videos
Hmm.
of the process of
Hmm.
creating collages. I find them really very beautiful and engaging because
Yeah.
when you cut the shapes,
Hmm.
they're very colorful with the textures and glue them on the
Hmm.
paper. It can be very dynamic and very
Hmm.
beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. It's just it's hard to do it. I think that's why I always stay away from it. But I know I should do more. So maybe that should be my New Year's resolution, a video a week, because I know it's good to do it and I know people like them. And it's good for me as well. But it's somehow when you start, you know you're being filmed or you're filming yourself, and then you start making mistakes, and then you think, oh no, that's not right, and then I've got to start again. And it's tricky, but I do have a top, top
Mhm.
loader, so I could do that. So yeah, maybe I should plan to do one a week or something, just get it into my routine. I think it's not in my routine, and I quite like routine, so I should maybe, yeah, every Monday morning or something, or when I'm
Yeah,
doing my challenge, it would be good to video the challenge really. I think that would be, yeah, that would probably work quite well.
yeah, in this
So yeah.
sense, it can be overwhelming when you turn
Hmm.
on the camera. You think, okay, now it's filming what I'm doing. It is a little bit
Yes.
stressful,
Hmm.
but the more you do it, the more you turn on this camera, then you just
Hmm.
start forgetting about that, and you
Hmm.
just drawing, collaging, or something
Hmm.
like that, and you day by day you
Hmm.
just
A
get
little bit
more,
more.
yeah,
Yeah.
comfortable, and
Hmm.
then it's really easy.
Yeah. That's what I need to do then. I need to practice. I need
Yeah.
to practice more, I think. Yeah, I think it's just a habit,
Hmm.
isn't it? I think,
Yeah.
oh no, I can't. I just don't want to do it. My desk is messy and this is that, and you make
No,
excuses why you
it-
can't do it.
it's
But
a beautiful mess. It's a
yeah.
colorful, beautiful mess.
This, yeah, some people may think that,
Yeah.
but yes.
Usually,
But yeah.
you don't have to make something special, something
Mhm.
different. You're just filming what you do
Yes.
in anyway. You're creating your collages
Hmm.
anyway, so just
This is
don't forget
true.
about the camera.
Yeah, yeah. And I think people generally seem to like work in progress rather than finished, polished. I mean,
Yes.
that's what I've found, that the posts that you post of things in progress, you get more gets more attention or more interest than a finished bit of artwork, which always feels weird to me. I always think, oh, I'm really happy with that. It's finished, it looks great. And you post it and you think, okay, no one was that interested. And then you post a messy desk and people love it. It's weird, isn't it? It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And it's always very interesting to know the thoughts of the
Hmm.
artist, what you're thinking about
Hmm.
when you created and why you choose this or that. Sometimes
Hmm.
it's hard to explain, but
Yeah.
it's really interesting to
Hmm.
listen.
This is true. Yeah, very true.
Um, what advice would you give to beginner artists, someone who is experimenting
Hmm.
with the collages, if they want to get an income
Hmm.
from their art?
Hmm.
In what direction it's better to move?
Hmm.
What to do?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it is very difficult to get your artwork out there and get it licensed. It's not easy. You have to work pretty hard at it. For me, I found actually doing, because I have some of my own products that I sell as well on market stalls and things, and for me that has worked really well. I quite enjoy going out with my things, meeting the public, getting some feedback from them, seeing what people like to buy, and I think I would always recommend to people if they're starting out, maybe try some market stalls, depending on which city you live in or which town you live in, and then at least you get kind of some feedback of what people are interested in and what bits of your work that people enjoy to buy. I mean, it's quite easy to make greeting cards and do prints and things like that. And I think it's a really good way meeting the general public and getting an idea. And then from that, you can maybe build up your portfolio with images that you know people are going to want to buy. And then maybe it's an easier way to get into doing some licensing as well. I mean, my licensing projects popped up through Instagram originally, whether it's so easy now on Instagram because there are so many people now because of all the online courses. I think there are so many more people trying to do licensing. So the market is really swamped. So you have to somehow find something that stands out and do something a little bit different from other people. There's no point in doing something the same as everyone else. So you have to somehow find your own little handwriting that is going to create a spark, I think, with licensing companies. So yeah, it's not easy, but you have to work hard at it, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose participating in the art markets is a dream for many
Mhm.
artists, and it also can be very expensive sometimes if you invest a lot of money into
Mhm.
this. Maybe could you give some tips with your experience?
Mhm.
How, if it's your first participating in market, what should
Yeah.
you really pay
Mhm.
attention on? What kind of products better
Mhm.
to print on? Any
Yeah,
tips?
I think you could cut the cost down. You could maybe find a friend who also wants to do it, so you can share a stand. That's not a bad thing to do, so that you don't have to pay. I mean, generally in London, the markets are around about £100, £80. It depends on the market and the location. So you maybe if you share with a friend, then you're already cutting that cost, which isn't bad. And then you don't need to have loads and loads of stock, but obviously you need to have a selection of things so that your store looks interesting. I mean, some people just have, if they're illustrators, they have prints and they have greeting cards, and they maybe have some gift wrap. I mean, I do tea towels, which is always pretty useful, is successful. So there are a lot of companies who will print small print runs of things, so you don't have to print hundreds and hundreds of anything. I mean, I don't even do that. I don't have enough room to keep my stock, so I kind of buy enough stock so I have enough for 2 or 3 months, and then from that you see what sells and what doesn't sell, what designs are popular, and there's always going to be some designs that you really like that nobody else likes. So I think there are ways of doing it without spending, hundreds and hundreds of pounds. Obviously, you have to invest something, otherwise you're not going to get anywhere. But you can definitely do it without spending a fortune. And it's a good way of meeting other people. And yeah, I really enjoy them. I really enjoy them through the summer. It's a great, something to do at the weekends on a Saturday or Sunday normally. And I normally try to do one a month. I wouldn't do more than that, but it depends on where you are in your life and what other responsibilities you have, I guess. But if you're young, you could easily find a market every weekend if you wanted to in London, and I'm sure a lot of other cities have them as well. So yeah, it's a good possibility, I think. So and sometimes you could just sell your original drawings or your original collages. Just really depends what you want to, how you want to invest your money and your time. I think. There's lots of options, and maybe go to visit some markets first so you can see what other people are selling and have a chat with some stall holders. That's also a good option, just so you can get an idea of what the possibilities are. I can see lots of questions popping up, but I can't. They're disappearing. So how
That's
do
a
you decide what will sell? I think you have to do some market research, and maybe you take stuff along, and some stuff sells and some stuff doesn't. I mean, now I've been doing it for a little while, so it's easier to know what's going to sell and what's not. But because I have markets in London, I always have a lot of London things that are really popular. My London images are always my best sellers. And that's kind of because there are a lot of tourists and there's a lot of visitors to London. But yeah, I never have enough London stuff basically. So um, yeah, and then there are always other things with cats, things with dogs. You know, it's the kind of obvious, the obvious things that people like. Things with fruit. Nothing too scary. So yeah,
something
yeah.
that
So that's
people can feel the connection.
yeah, exactly. And not everyone is going to like your stuff. That's just not how it works. You have to find your target market. But that yeah, everyone has their own personal taste, so you can't please everyone. You have to just try and please some people. So yeah.
And how do you choose the printing company, or maybe do you have a particular printer at your studio?
Yeah, that's trial and error, I'd say. You try somewhere. If it's not doesn't work for you, you have to try and find someone else, or you can contact, I guess chat with other people on Instagram. Some people are happy to share who they use, and some people are not happy to share. I'm always happy to share because I know how difficult it is to find the right one. So I will. People want to know, they can DM me, and yeah, I think you have to try to be friendly with people and ask them. And yeah, some people will let you know and some people won't. But it is trial and error. You use one company, you're not happy with how they print it, so you don't use them again, you try somebody else. Yeah, that's it's as simple as that, really. But there are a lot of companies out there producing things. And also you have to find the right price bracket for yourself, because obviously some places charge a lot more, and some places charge less. And it might be less because the quality isn't so good, but that's not always the case. Also depends on how much you get printed at a time. If you get hundreds printed, it's going to be a lot cheaper than if you get 20 printed. But that's obviously high risk as well. So I think sometimes it's better just to get a small amount, try it out,
Mhm,
and see if that
mhm,
works. And if it doesn't sell, then you've got a lot of presents for
mhm.
people. But at least you haven't spent a lot of money as well. Yeah.
Yeah, often you just have to try
hmm
instead of thinking and overthinking.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
yeah, you have to try, exactly. You have to try things out and see what happens.
yeah.
It's sometimes not good to put too much thought into it, because otherwise you feel frozen and you won't do anything.
That was a tricky question. I don't
hmm
know if
hmm
you have an answer. Then in the comments, how long does it take to start earning money? Do you create
Oh,
ads and do you
do I create
create
ads?
ads?
No, I won't pay social media for ads. Definitely not. I don't want to do that. I don't know how if that even works. Um, and how long is it? Well, it's with money, it's very up and down. I wouldn't say that licensing is a completely reliable source of income. That's why I do the markets and things as well, because at least then in theory, you're guaranteed some money to come in. But
Mhm.
it's definitely not easy. Yeah, I'm not rich from doing this. And yeah, maybe some people who become very successful can make a huge salary from it. But I'd say, yeah, it's definitely, you need to have a few different income sources. Yeah, you definitely need to not just stick to one thing. You
Uh,
have to be a bit creative. I mean, lots of people do online classes like yourself now, and that is also not a bad way to um, maybe
mhm,
have an extra income.
mhm.
I think, yeah, you cannot just stick to one income. You have to be, yeah, definitely
And
a few things going on.
which source of income gives you more profit?
Um, that's, I guess, with the licensing, there's more profit because you're not actually paying anything into creating it. It's just time. Um, but it's unpredictable with licensing, as you know, because you don't know if they're going to sell hundreds of it or just 10 of it. So often it's very unpredictable. So I think, yeah, I mean, it's always unpredictable, I would say. And last year was definitely a quieter year than the year before. Um, because I guess the economic climate now at the moment is pretty bad. So a lot of companies are not splashing out on lots of designs, and lots of people aren't buying stuff. So things are tight. So yeah, I think you definitely need to find lots of income streams, and that also makes life a bit more interesting if you're not just sticking to one thing. You know, it's
Yeah,
good to look for I mean, I'm always looking for new opportunities. Just put it like that.
yeah,
So yeah.
I totally agree with you that it's better to have different source of income and try new
Mhm.
things. Also, another question from the comments: what brand, model, scanner do you use?
It is it's a Canon, I think. It's a Canon Scan 2, I think. Someone, if they DM me, then I can look it up. I think it's a Canon. It's not a new one, and it's just an A4 one. I don't have an A3 one. I have to stitch everything together in Photoshop. But
Hmm.
it's pretty good quality. It's yeah, I don't fiddle around with the scanner. I touch up the colors in Photoshop more. I just literally scan it at 600 dots per inch. And then I will stitch things if I need to. Yeah, tend not to. I tend to try and not work bigger than A3 so that I haven't got too much stitching together to do, because the more bits you have to scan in, the more tricky it becomes. So yeah.
Yeah, another comment. I would love to
Mhm.
do one of your collage classes if you
Ah.
ever did
Mhm.
one, Tracy.
Oh yeah.
I just
Mm,
love
mhm.
collage. Do let me know if you do
Oh,
anything. So,
yeah. That's nice.
are you going
I
to do
do. I
any?
would like to. I would like to. I'm thinking about it. I mean, I have done a couple online and I've done a couple in person. I definitely would like to do some more. It's just kind of thinking exactly how I'm going to engineer it. So I definitely this year I would like to do some classes and have either some small groups at my house would be a nice thing to do, um, or maybe online. It would be, yeah, it'd be interesting to hear what people would like actually, because then it gives me more of a focus of knowing how to put that together. But I definitely would like to share my passion
Yeah.
so, with anyone who would like to know it. So and yeah, the classes that I've done I've enjoyed, but yeah, it's kind of, I guess in London it's quite difficult because if you rent places it's quite expensive. Don't have a giant house, don't have a big studio, so it's just finding ways of kind of working out how the best logistics of it. And I think it's nice to do things in person, really. I mean, online is great too, but online, please, somebody's saying. So yeah, maybe I need to look into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm also thinking about offline workshops because I hosted many workshops
Mhm.
and courses, but all of them are online. And
Mhm.
I'm thinking maybe to try this year to make something offline to
Mhm.
just to have another type of connection
Yeah,
with people.
it's good to have both, I think.
Yeah,
If possible, it's good to have both and to not, because there's so many very nice, very flashy workshops around that really cost a lot of money, or these retreats you can go on, which are prohibited for a lot of people. I can't even afford to go on some very posh retreat, but it would be lovely to be able to do workshops that are affordable. So yeah, let me watch this space. Yeah,
so
I definitely would like to do, and I would like to do small groups, because if you have a big group, it's really hard to control it and it's really hard to get round and see everyone. So I definitely think I would like to do something with small groups. It's
mhm.
different. If you do it online, you can have a big group, that's absolutely fine. But in person, I think it's quite nice to have small groups so that you can really connect with people. I think that's
So
quite important.
maybe workshops and classes, but what other plans do you have for the
Ooh,
2024?
whatever plans. I don't. I think the workshoppy thing actually is my is with one of my new
Oh,
plans anyway. I think because that's something I haven't really focused on before. And I don't. Yeah, just to keep on doing what I'm doing and get some new work in, and maybe do some new markets. And yeah, I don't. Yeah, I haven't got any major plans, but. Yeah, I just want to carry on doing what I'm doing, really. Do some new designs. That's quite important for my own work and my own products. I definitely need to do some new designs, and that's been a bit neglected this year. I've had to kind of keep the design. I just haven't had time to do new designs, and I really would like to kind of push that side of things, because I feel like I can control that side a lot more. And with the licensing, you can't necessarily control it. Whereas with your own products and things that I sell through markets and on my online shop, I can control that. And I enjoy that side of things. So I definitely want to produce some new ideas this year for that and get some new designs out there and things like that. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's
Fingers
all.
crossed I have enough time.
That's already a lot.
Yes, it's
Uh,
enough.
Time is running.
Ah.
So, lastly, looking back,
Mhm.
what would you tell your younger self when you first started this journey?
Oh, my younger self. That, oh yeah, that's a good one. That it's okay to follow your dreams, I think, because you're always told that it's not going to work or you're not good enough. Um, yeah, I think so. Yeah, if you really enjoy something and you've got a passion, you should really follow your dreams if you can, because I think, yeah, lots of obstacles come in your way, and that's always going to be the case in creative things, I guess. So yeah, somehow you have to find a path. But you have to really enjoy doing it. I mean, I've always wanted to be creative. I think I was at primary school and we had one day when we did art all day when I was about 7 years old, and I thought, wow, that's what I want to do. And I think from that day onwards, really, and obviously I had parents who were both creative, but they didn't necessarily encourage me because I think they knew how difficult it is. And I think they always wondered if I was really good enough to be able to sustain doing it. So yeah, and it isn't always easy. So yeah, I think if you've got a passion, then you should follow your dream. That's my word of advice, however difficult it is. Yeah,
Tracy, thank you so much. It was a
that's
big
okay.
pleasure for me. Thank you for
Oh,
sharing all your experience
mm,
and insights.
mhm.
It was, I'm sure it was very helpful
Oh,
to everyone, for me too. And
mhm.
thank you for your
Oh,
time.
no, it was a pleasure. It was really nice to chat to you too. I love your work.
Thank
I
you.
didn't know it before you had spoken to Shahan, so it was really great to have a look at your designs. Yeah, I mean, I love pattern and I love color, so your work really appeals to me. So that was brilliant.
Thank
And yeah, if anyone's
you.
got anything they want to ask me, they should DM me, and then I try to get back to as many people as possible. So if they've got any questions about collage or work or licensing or anything really, they can, yeah, send me a DM and I'll try to catch up with them. Have a
Thank you.
good
Thank you so much.
afternoon.
You
Yeah, take
too.
care.
Thank you,
Ciao.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Good to chat. Bye.